Hello, it is April 1st, 2021, and I wanted to get out our market update, get it done today on the 1st, and hopefully out to you on the 2nd. What's sort of significant about this time is it's almost a year ago since we started doing more consistent market updates. Tomorrow is Good Friday, and I remember sitting here at the same time a year ago on Good Friday and quiet, not a car moving outside, no one in the office. I basically had to make it clear that I was in the office by myself as to not be frowned upon for having left the house. 365 days later, and we're a lot better off. Maybe not as scared as we were, but it's been one hell of a year. So, still want to get information out to you. And, one thing I am noticing, I think I wear one of these blue pullovers, of which I have three about every other market update. So, it must be time to do one because I'm wearing blue. But this is important because we have just finished the first 3 months of 2021. And if you paid attention to real estate, the word on the street is extremely hot and the inventory is low and the market's crazy. And depending on who you talk to, you might hear very different things. You might hear that, oh, well, it's going to crash, or that, oh, it's fantastic, or rates are going to skyrocket. So there's a lot out there, and there's a lot of people that are willing to give an opinion, and frankly, they don't know what they're talking about. In fact, a year ago, I remember someone explaining that the market was going to crash right here March a year ago. The very opposite has happened. So let's go over this. Let's take a look and go from there. So what I want to do this year is look at the last 3 years over the first quarter in the month of March in the first quarter. So it's very telling to go 2019, 2020, and 2021. First quarter, January to March. 2019, we had 727 listings. There's listings that came to market. Last year we had 711. This is the big number right here. So far, we are about 12 to 13% behind that number the last 2 years, 637. There's your inventory problem because we've got at least in Clark and Oconee County, 100 ballparkish less properties coming to market. And the days on market, a lot of these listings, they're under contract before they're published. So while they are listings, they're not exactly like they've been exposed to the market for a long time. And then let's just look at the under contract numbers and compare some other things. Pretty consistent here, except we put more under contract in 2021 than we did in previous 2 years. The list price has steadily increased, 262 in 2019 now to 307 in 2021. Sold price, same trend, up a great deal, 290K from 2019 to 321. Keep in mind, we're only tracking the first quarter, January into March. Homes sold, this is the real telling one right here. Keep in mind, the first quarter of 2020 would have been pre-COVID. So it was going normally, and then it was about to go right down a cliff. In 2019, we had 432 homes sold. 2020, 467. 492 so far in 2021 as of March 31st. So even despite the low inventory, we're selling more homes. Now let's just compare the month of March. Keep in mind, March was kind of pre-COVID last year. So 268 for new listings, 251 and 255. That's a telling number right there. Look at that 255. So March seems fairly normal and on pace for the last 3 years as far as new listings to market. More on that later. So basically, the under contract, we're right on par with what we were in 2019 at 183. List price and sold price, we all know those are up. Total homes sold in March. Look at this normalization here, 183, 189, 189. So that's interesting. We've got new listings in March lining up with previous years, and we've got total homes sold lining up with the previous years. Now, obviously, April of this year is going to outshoot April of last year and possibly some of May. But what I want you to notice is this trend, this normalization. I've done a little graph so I can kind of show you visually what's going on. The thing in the market is across the nation, we definitely have a extremely low inventory, but real estate is local. And what is happening in our market around you is what's most important, not what's happening in California, New York, Texas, Arizona. That's irrelevant for the most part to what's happening in your neighborhood. Let's take a look. These are the listings that came to market each month of the last 3 years. The blue and green are represented by 2019 and 2020. So as you can see, 2019 and 2020, as far as listings go, first 2 months were far above the listings on the market versus this year, creating this hyper, you know, offer mode where there's so many offers on various properties in certain locations. Well, let's look at 2021. because that's the case in 2021. That's why there was such a dearth of inventory, because it was so far below the inventory of the previous 2 years. Here's the good news. The month of March in 2021, we skyrocketed up in listings to market. So look at there, we're catching back up. As a matter of fact, surpassing the year 2020 in new listings and almost catching 2019. So that's a good trend, because here we go well below in inventory and we're catching up. Let's look at the home sales of the last 3 years. So blue and green are representing 19 and 20 as usual, and the red representing 2021. So 2021 started with home sales above almost the whole way, which was abnormal because we saw more activity in January and February than we usually would. And then right here, this is the point of the year where in March they skyrocketed in 2020. But keep in mind, that's right before COVID hit. So then those home sales are going to drop off a trend. Whereas you see how almost consistent this line is. I'm going to track this all year because I think we're going to see it just trend and slowly level is my prediction. So what does that mean? Because that number might scare some of you that we're catching up, or might make you feel good. I think it should make you feel good. Here's why. Let's go back up. This is going to help loosen the market a little bit, but it's not going to create so much inventory that we have too much. It's going to make it where instead of having 10 offers on one property, you might reduce down to 4, you might reduce to 2. We might get to a market where some of you home buyers are not overly frustrated at a price point, and some of you home sellers, quite frankly, feeling a little too confident in the pricing. So I think we're going to see things loosen up a little bit, get a little more normal. It's still going to remain a low inventory market. As you can see here, what do you need to know? Inventory will loosen up, but I think it's still going to remain low overall. So we're going to see, we quite frankly don't have a way to oversupply right now. What do we think about what's coming at the end of the year? We kind of think it'll normalize a little bit more. And one of the reasons for that is number 3, we have buyers that if they can find a place to land, they become sellers. That's the tightness in the market is I won't sell because I got nowhere to go, or I'm waiting for this to happen to put the sign up. So through April and May, I think we're going to see more come to market, and that's going to help things sort of stabilize. We've seen a little bit of it happen here in March, and my hope is that we see some leveling off, but I don't think it will so much cool down a lot. I think it might just, instead of the skyrocket, I think we might see a little bit more of this. But one thing to note, there's a lot of talk out there about rates. Rates are still very low, folks. They did make a jump up, but they made a jump up from 2.2% to over 3%. That's fantastic still. And we need that. We can't have rates so low that it creates inflation. We already have money being printed by the government, so we need to at least have rates have a slight tick up. But overall, things in our market are very strong. There's still a lot of ways to get it wrong, and we're using tools every day to help our buyers find properties that we are looking for, and to help our sellers navigate this market the best way they can. So, hopefully you're getting this on Good Friday or seeing it on the Good Friday. Have a great Easter. Enjoy your weekend. Here comes spring. With every shot they pop in an arm, hopefully things will normalize. And we're going to still be here to keep you informed about what we can in our market around the Athens greater area. Have a great weekend.